Friday, so head to mypatriotsupply.com to check out everything that's included. With all the uncertainty in the world, disaster preparedness is more important than ever. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and get prepared today. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Hey parents, you don't need the latest gizmo slang or clothes to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement. Mike, when we talk about someone who might be considering a move from where they've lived pre-retirement to a new location, what are some of the main things they need to consider?
Yeah, I think that they need to focus on the costs first and foremost. I know a lot more goes into a decision like this than the costs alone, but what I find consistently is that folks in retirement overestimate how much they can save by moving and underestimate how much they're going to spend as they age to stay in their home. And so both of those factors are important when considering this big decision of, hey, do I consider downsizing or moving to another area?
One of the other things that we've seen over the past few years is that some of those estimates of costs can change quickly as well. I think about insurance in Florida as an example, property taxes in parts of the country. These are things that you need to account for, and that those costs might change as you go through retirement.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are easy to identify. Like, yeah, insurance costs have sure gone up a lot, and maybe they'll continue to do so. Electricity costs are another one. The others, though, are much more difficult to quantify. Like, I currently snow blow my driveway. How much longer will I be able to do that? How much longer will I be able to climb up the ladder and clean the gutters? Like, these are really complex questions that you need to very much think through as you age in your home.
Our guide is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement, and there are 2 ways to request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to armstrongadvisory.com. Again, the guide is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement, and you can request it at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark faithfully served his country from 1981 to 1984, and we're thrilled to have him as a partner and presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Mark comes from a proud military family that includes his father Victor and brother Timmy. Mark talks often about how serving his country was one of the greatest achievements of his life, and it's one of the main reasons he chooses to give back to this special community. Mark is honored to continue the legacy that his father started when he built Veterans Development Corporation. Working to help many disabled veterans and their families has become a lifelong goal for Mark, and it's why he's taken the time to fully support the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. You can join Mark and help our great American heroes today by making a donation to support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Estate planning doesn't have to be complicated. Cushing & Dolan's new guide, The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts, shows couples how to stay in control, avoid probate, and help protect what they've built for their family. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you here today, and it is the 12th of November, which... Does this date bear any historical significance?
You're the history major. I have no idea.
Let me see. I'm just like thinking out loud. I don't think there's anything major. Here we go. Okay, in 764, I think we all remember this, Tibetan troops occupied Chang'an for 15 days, which was the capital of the Tang Dynasty. I know that we all remember that very well. Kind of interesting one. 1439, Plymouth, England was the first town incorporated by the English Parliament. That's kind of a big one. Like that's a pretty big step to getting to where we are today. Let's see. In 1813, Allied troops occupied Zwolle, Netherlands. Probably didn't pronounce that correctly. What else do we have? This is kind of a good big one. 1918, Emperor Karl of Austria-Hungary abdicates. Austria becomes a republic. Again, another thing that, kind of important in getting us to where we are today. What else do we have here? 1925, I saw something good there. U.S. and Italy signed peace accord about war debts. Something else that got us to where we are today. I mean, some of these are, pretty important, actually. But in any case, if you don't want to revisit ancient history, we can at least talk a little bit about what's going on right now and what Americans are concerned about today. And we'll start with this piece from Bloomberg. It's titled, "It's Not Just Affordability. Americans are Anxious Over Jobs, Too." And really, I think this is two sides of the same coin, in my opinion, Paul, in that if prices go up, but wages rise faster, people don't care.
Mm-hmm.
If prices go up and wages rise more slowly, people care. And this is what we are seeing for a broader swath of Americans right now. Bank of America had a piece on this in the last couple days, which is for the bottom third of Americans, wage growth over the last year is running at 1% while inflation's running at 3%. Gosh, that's kind of the whole thing encapsulated in one. Wages are trailing price growth, which means affordability is a concern. And wages are trailing price growth because the job market is not as robust for those groups right now. And so there's no incentive for companies to pay more to retain labor.
Yeah, the labor market has been the biggest item of focus, it feels like, over the last 3 to 6 months or so, and we'll talk about it more here. The Federal Reserve is really putting a keen focus on it. But interesting, kind of parsing through our stack today, it seems like inflation is popping up again, too, as a potential concern. You know, you mentioned that if wages are rising and inflation is rising, then people are less concerned. I would argue that because there's also a significant percentage of the population that is not collecting wages, that there's probably a bigger camp that would fall into maybe wages not keeping up with inflation, and that's frustrating them, or retirees who are living off of a more fixed income, or yes, you could argue Social Security has a cost of living adjustment, but I think many people would argue that it doesn't fully cover everything that we've seen from a price increase front. So they can feel crunched too. Obviously, their portfolios have performed well, but for those people in retirement, also a strain on them. Really, the biggest takeaway that I had from 2022, because it was really the only experience in my career that I've seen inflation run as rampantly as it had since the 70s, which I wasn't working for.
You and I were not alive
Not
here.
alive or working for. It is something that universally everyone can't stand, and it is probably one of the most upsetting economic factors to individuals on a day-to-day basis. It really disrupts their lives tremendously, more so than some labor market disruption. It is something that really irritates consumers, and still to this day has ripple effects 3 years later because of all the price increases we saw there. So it's significant, but of course the labor market is too.
So when we look at and look, you and I also, in terms of, you know, what we have and haven't seen, look, I came into this business in the aftermath, like right as the great financial crisis was unfolding. Like I was, you know, watching as that happened. And so ultimately, I think that part of why we talk about, you know, the concerns about inflation are because that's the last battle that we fought. But, you know, I remember back in that 2009 through 2014 period, just the heavy weight that everyone was carrying around. Like, even if you weren't unemployed, it still was, companies were laying people off because sales were really lethargic. It was a really lackluster recovery. There was consistent concern about, is there going to be a double dip recession? You know, that was the talk of 2011 and 2012, and it was just something where, like, the malaise that you had throughout the economy was palpable then. This here, what we're seeing in terms of concerns about the labor market is people are really nervous about where things are going to go on that front, but when you actually look at what has been occurring, it's just not there as far as the scale of layoffs or workforce reductions. I mean, ultimately, right now, for the last 3 to 4 months, depending on the metric that you look at, the labor market is pretty much treading water. Somewhere around, you know, small numbers of jobs added to no jobs added to maybe small numbers of jobs lost. Like that's what we're seeing. And I think it is true that we've seen a continuous deceleration in the labor market since mid-22. And that it was just coming from a place that, quite honestly, was just too hot. That was not realistic.
250,000 a month, average in 225 new jobs.
I can pull it up. I don't know exactly where we were, but the labor market's been cooling for about 3 years. And the question that matters for 2026 is, does this continue, or are we finding a bottom?
Yep.
If it continues, we got some issues, because when you start seeing consistent job losses, consumer spending typically can't be maintained, and that's where you see kind of things go, you know, convexly bad, where the pain accelerates because consumer spending, you know, takes a further leg down. If we bottom out in this range and companies have, you know, all new plans for expansion next year because of One Big Beautiful Bill Act provisions and things like that, then you can say, okay, like, yeah, we've got more room to run. But this is a critical time in the next 3 to 6 months, in my opinion. And I'm hopeful that we see the same thing that we've seen the last 2 years, which is a labor market that has answered the bell when it's been rung and says, yep, we're not done yet. But I don't know what we're going to see, and I remain open to a wide range of possibilities here because none of this is set in stone.
Last fall was a great example. We had similar conversations where the unemployment rate had ticked up from the 3.5% low that it had reached to 4.2, 4.3 where it sits today. And here we are a year later, right at the same point. So the question is, where is it a year from now? Where is it 6 months from now?
Peace and CNBC, the shutdown put jobs and inflation data on hold. Here's when it could be back and what it might say. The answer is it might be back soon, but we don't know exactly when, and we don't know what it's going to say.
That's definitely true. It seems like the earliest we could get any information is Tuesday or Wednesday, the October jobs report. But in terms of all the other data, it seems like that is going to take quite a bit of time before
we might get some
out
before Thanksgiving.
Sure.
You know, we might get some other data like CPI, PPI. Maybe that starts trickling in. Weekly jobless claims probably resume next week. They could resume tomorrow. I don't know how long it takes the DOL to tabulate that and run it through their stuff. So we'll see. But I expect post-Thanksgiving we'll be back to a regular cadence. But the next week or so is going to be choppy, especially because have you guys realized Thanksgiving is in 2 weeks and a day?
It's incredible how quickly it's come up.
It's wild. Like those poor turkeys. I mean,
they don't know what's coming.
Well, hate to tell you, it's already come for them. You know, it's
true.
like I seen the butterballs all through the grocery stores, and got to tell you, there's a lot of them this year.
There's a lot of turkeys
there's a lot of
that
them
survive every Thanksgiving. They're overpopulated.
Well, I mean, look, you gotta they're decimating the local grubworm population.
Wedding crashers. Throw a call back.
Yeah. In any case, let's take a quick break. By the way, on this date in history, in 2021, Britney Spears' conservatorship ended, so that's kind of a big one. Quick break. More after this.
Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play The Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The U.S. Virgin Islands isn't just a postcard. It's alive with rhythm, culture, and celebration. This December through early January, St. Croix lights up with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a heritage carnival tradition dating back to the 1800s. There are incredible parades through Frederiksted as the festival village buzzes with live music, reggae, soca, and local island beats, as well as streets filled with the scent of authentic Caribbean flavors. Beyond the festival, there's St. Thomas, fresh with cruise hub energy, duty-free shopping, and panoramic views at Magens Bay. St. John is quiet, wild, and pure, where every trail and beach is its own adventure. Explore one island or all three. Each offers something unique, all with warm hospitality and that easy island vibe. Travel from New England could not be easier. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. This holiday season, plan your escape and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit usvi.com and book your trip today. That's visit usvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Your home is more than just a place to live. It's part of your story. In retirement, real estate can play a powerful role in how you manage your wealth and plan for the next generation. Passing property to family members isn't always easy. One child might want to keep the home while another prefers to sell it. Maintenance costs, taxes, and distance to healthcare services are all important factors that need to be considered, which is why having a clear plan can help prevent family stress while keeping your wishes front and center. Our new guide, Owning Real Estate in Retirement, is designed to help you fit your property into a long-term strategy that supports your life today and preserves what matters most for your future. Get your free copy right now by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Estate planning isn't just about taxes. It's about peace of mind. At Cushing & Dolan, we believe your plan should protect your family, not complicate your life. A joint revocable trust can help you do both. It lets you avoid probate, which means no court delays, no public filings, and no stress for your loved ones. Your estate stays private, and your family stays in control. Our new guide, The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts, also explains how a trust can protect your children's inheritance from creditors, divorce, or bad financial decisions down the road. This guide makes it easy to understand why a joint trust may be the smart move for your family's future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy of The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts. That's 866-848-5699. or request it online from our website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is powered by Circle K Convenience Stores. Circle K is now the official convenience store of the DAV Department of Massachusetts. On behalf of Circle K, thank you, veterans, for all you've done.
Paul, we got a piece in the Wall Street Journal. The Fed is increasingly torn over a December rate cut. Why are they getting all, bent out of shape?
Well, I think certainly one of the issues that you have to point to is the fact that they've been walking around in the dark for the last couple months and had no...
Well, turn the lights on, Jerome.
Hopefully by the end of this week, the lights are back on. That's one of the reasons, sort of limited data there. But also you have these factors that have persisted for the last few months here with a sluggish labor market that we've talked about that is nowhere near growing like it was in 2024, and you also have relatively persistent inflation, and it puts the Fed in a difficult position where typically what your view would be is if you feel that the labor market is slowing, by taking down interest rates, you would stimulate more activity and more demand in the labor market, or that's the best tool that the Fed would have is to bring interest rates down to get the economy going. But also on the other front, with inflation, as we saw in 2022, the reason that we've reached the rates that we are at today is to get inflation under control. Typically, you have to raise interest rates. So when you're between those two issues of a weak labor market and persistent inflation, it can be difficult to know what direction that they should go to. At this point in time, according to CME Futures, it looks like we sit around a 65% probability that they will move forward with the rate cut coming for the December 10th meeting, but still a 35% chance or so that they stay put.
So I have two kind of different thoughts in my head, but they're ones that get it like the crux of the problem. The first is, I don't understand how they're not still all steam ahead.
To cut.
Yeah. And here's my thinking on this. It's not that I'm like, yes, like you have to cut no matter what. It's more, okay, you thought the conditions in September warranted a cut.
Mm-hmm.
You then thought that conditions in October continued to warrant an additional cut. Even though we're still not getting, the government data because of the shutdown, the supplemental data that's surrounding that, again, when you look at the labor market, when you look at, everything else that we're getting, is not showing a deviation from the trend that we were on through September and early October. And so if you felt that a cut was warranted during that time, I just don't know how you get to, well, we did 2 of them and now we're fine. I struggle there. And this is also then when I get to kind of the other piece that I think informs the other side of the equation to a certain extent, which is the Fed over the last 14 months has now cut the Fed funds rate by 1.5%. Like we forget that. I mean, this is all one cutting cycle since last September, in my opinion. The Fed did 1 percentage point in cuts last year and 0.5% this year. The housing market is objectively worse now than it was a year ago. Can you point to anything that shows housing is better today than it was a year ago?
A little bit better for buyers.
But like the actual amount of housing
the activity, no.
The activity hasn't budged.
No.
Pricing continues to slide in large parts of the country.
Interest rates on the mortgages probably haven't moved too much.
They're in about the same spot as where they were at this time last year. They ran up then to around 7%, but again, you're pretty much in the same spot. And so, you've got a glut of completed new homes that are out there. It's about 120 or 130,000, which is the highest level that we've had since 2010. And so, you look at what builders are telling you, and they're telling you we're going to build fewer homes, the margins are going to be worse. And so I look at it and I go, if 150 bips in cuts didn't move the needle for housing, I'm not sure anything is going to unless something really bad happens and you need to cut interest rates down to 1%.
Mm-hmm.
And even there, I don't know how much that influences mortgage rates because the long bond isn't going to believe that you're going to keep rates at 1% forever.
Sure.
In this world, in this environment, that's not the case. So, does the 10-year go from 4 down to 3.25, and that gets you to 5.5 on mortgage rates?
Not because of anything that's going to happen with the Fed funds rates. It would have to be some sort of dramatic economic slowdown that would get it there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of look at it and I go, part of me is okay, they should still be cutting in December. The other part of me goes, they've already cut 150 bips. It's not like that extra 0.25% is going to make a difference. When we talk about monetary policy errors, we're not talking about being wrong by 0.25% because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Monetary policy errors are hey, we cut by 150 bips when we should have been raising by 150.
I agree. That small of a cut's not going to make or break it.
Right, so it doesn't matter.
But from a messaging standpoint, I think it could matter in the sense that, okay, let's say they do proceed with this 25 basis point cut come December, and the thing out there has been that companies have been withholding increasing prices because of tariff impact. What if, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if in 26 you start to see the dam sort of break and you see price increases coming at a more substantial level, then the Fed is going to have to pivot their course if we see it. And then I think they're worried about just the messaging that they go from cutting to raising or staying at the same level. Perhaps that's the concern there.
Yeah. So I hold these differing views, one of which is, okay, they probably should cut in December because they've been cutting, but I'm also not sure that it matters if they cut in December because it hasn't mattered what they've done on rates to this point. The problems facing the U.S. economy, I'm not sure are rate sensitive.
Not at this point.
I'm just not sure that's the case. So,
yeah, how does that change the labor market?
Right, the pass-through is...
you could argue, okay, more lending and more economic activity, hire more people, but I don't think that's going to be the impetus to get companies going.
It's normally housing is the leading indicator. So you say, okay, we cut rates, mortgage rates fall, and that juices housing, and that's, what pulls us. If housing is not responding to lower mortgage rates, guys, quite honestly, I don't know that the Fed has the tools to fix this thing.
No, they're going to need to get out the hammer and
they're going to need a bigger
build
boat.
The inventory. Yeah,
they're going to need a bigger boat. So it's just something where I think the questions that we're facing right now are different from prior labor market concerns. And it's also just the fact that the timing of this is weird. Again, normally consumption leads the labor market. The labor market is moving while consumption is not right now. Consumption is consistently running 4 to 6% increase in consumer spending. All the big banks are telling you that. The credit card processors are telling you that. Everyone's telling you this. And yet you still have labor market growth slowing, which is not what we normally see. It's just different. And added to the pile of things that have been different this business cycle that haven't existed in prior ones. Quick break here. When we come back, we got Wall Street Watch, and then we're talking about the unraveling of Massachusetts' middle class.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Your home is more than just a place to live. It's part of your story. In retirement, real estate can play a powerful role in how you manage your wealth and plan for the next generation. Passing property to family members isn't always easy. One child might want to keep the home while another prefers to sell it. Maintenance costs, taxes, and distance to healthcare services are all important factors that need to be considered, which is why having a clear plan can help prevent family stress while keeping your wishes front and center. Our new guide, Owning Real Estate in Retirement, is designed to help you fit your property into a long-term strategy that supports your life today and preserves what matters most for your future. Get your free copy right now by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams, your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. Mark is a career military man, having served for nearly 20 years, and we are so thrilled to have him and his company as a key partner and the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston. Mark comes from a proud military family, including his father Victor and his brother Timmy. Mark talks often about how serving his country was one of the greatest achievements of his life, and that's one of the key reasons that he chooses to give back to this special community. Mark is honored to continue his legacy that his father started when he built Veterans Development Corporation. Working to help many disabled veterans and their families has become a lifelong goal for Mark, and it's why he's taken the time to fully support the DAV Department of Massachusetts. You can join Mark Vonner and Veterans Development Corporation and help our great American heroes today by making a donation or becoming a sponsor. Simply visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about joint revocable trusts. Todd, a lot of people think estate planning is complicated or something they can put off. Can you explain how a joint revocable trust can actually make things simpler for couples who just want to protect what they've built and keep things easy for their family?
Sure. Joint trusts are really so underutilized, but they're really the most important and easiest way to do planning. Many people think of two trusts, right? Splitting everything between a husband trust and a wife trust. Well, this already makes it simpler. If you have just one trust, you can both put your assets in the trust, whether you contribute the joint bank account or the joint brokerage account or the joint real estate and rental properties. It's easy. Just put it all into one trust and you're both trustees. So funding is simpler, operation is simpler, and most importantly, you can actually get a better result for moderate estates from an estate planning standpoint. Because on the first death, you get to cram down all the assets that are in the joint trust to get a step up in basis basis, whereas if you've separated the assets between the two trusts, you're only going to be able to cram down half as much. And if you do the planning right, you can actually use these trusts to get a double step up in basis when the surviving spouse dies.
Learn how you can avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes, protect your kids' inheritance, and keep your money in your family. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, right now, markets are in mixed territory with AMD among the big winners in the chip sector. Right now, the Dow is up 0.8% or 386 points. S&P 500 is flat, only 1 point higher. NASDAQ down about 0.33% or 75 points lower. Russell 2000 is up 0.4%. 10-year Treasury yield down 3 basis points at 4.073%. And crude oil is down 3% today, trading at $59.20 a barrel. AMD surging 10% higher after CEO Lisa Su said during its investor day that the company anticipates the total market for AI data center parts and systems will reach $1 trillion by 2030. Su also said that the company should see revenue growth accelerate in the coming years due to strong data center demand. Meanwhile, shares in Swiss sneaker maker On Holding are surging 20% after the company raised its guidance for a third time in a row after it beat street expectations on the top and bottom lines. This comes after competitors like Nike and Hoka plan for either a sales decline or slowdown in growth. Elsewhere, nuclear energy startup Oklo saw its loss widen last quarter as the company spent more on research and development to advance its plans to launch a commercial plant. However, shares are up 7% at the moment. Starbucks up over 2% after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox News this morning that the Trump administration would soon unveil reductions in import duties on coffee, bananas, and other foods. And after today's close, we'll see earnings from Cisco Systems and gambling operator Flutter Entertainment. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
From secure to struggling, the unraveling of Massachusetts middle class. So this is a pretty long piece that was put together by the Boston Globe. I mean, I'm looking at it, it's like 8 to 10 pages printed out, if not more. And it goes through a pretty comprehensive rundown of why the things that effectively make the middle class, kind of what it's historically been in the United States, are becoming increasingly challenging to afford in Massachusetts. And I think a key part of this, Paul, is first defining, what middle class means, because I think, like, if you ask people, I bet like 90% of them would say they're middle class, but that can't be the case because that's basically all the class. Like that's everyone. And so when I think of middle class and kind of how I would define it in terms of some of the key tenets of it, I think of a family, like if you think of like the staples of it, a family that has jobs for any of the adults in the household that want them, and on those salaries can reasonably afford either the rent or mortgage payment to live in a certain area, with a week or two of vacation time that they can take to, domestic locations with the family when they want to that are, reasonably priced. Is that kind of a good general area? Is there anything else that you would add to that?
No, I think that summarizes it pretty well. I was going to get hard numbers, but that's probably a better way to contextualize it, is just kind
what
of
do people
more,
expect out of middle classness? I can pay for my house. I can take the family somewhere a couple times a year, not extravagant or anything like that. And I can afford my basic necessities without a ton of stress and worry.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think
that's how I would define it. Where are we seeing the biggest problems with that affordability in the context of this piece on Massachusetts?
The difficulty with Massachusetts, and again, this is going to vary community by community as to what that middle income range is that we were just kind of talking about before, the characteristics of it. But if you look back to 2000, half of the Boston area households qualified as middle class. Where you look at that number today, only 41% of them remain. So some have either, promoted up to sort of upper class, or others have fallen by the wayside on the lower income side of things. And it's a multitude of different factors. One, we know the housing issues that this state has. There is just not a tremendous amount of new homes being built. We did see an uptick around COVID in 21 and 22 of more permitting for new houses on the market. But in 23 and 24, we saw the two lowest years of housing permits in the Boston area, at least since 2012. So there hasn't been a tremendous uptick there on the inventory side of things. The other thing is childcare is incredibly expensive in this state too. I was blown away by these numbers, though they make sense, but $26,700 is the average median cost to put an infant through childcare in Massachusetts. For a 4-year-old, it's $18,000 a year. And what is also helpful is that typically you want to assign in a budget 7% of a family's income to childcare. If you assign that 7% to the $26,700 costs that I'm alluding to there, that's a household making $380,000, Chuck. That's a huge number. And ultimately, it just comes down to, you have to make so much money to live in this state. And I think back to when I was going through school, 2 teachers could comfortably, and this is to the middle class point that you're talking about, live in the greater Boston area, raise a family, and work at the local high school. But now my sister is a teacher in the Framingham school system, and very candidly, she had the discussion with us that she would not be able to live around this area if she were to marry another teacher. It's just, I don't know if that is possible anymore.
Yeah, and it gets then to the question of, well, what do we do about all of this?
That's where I wanted to go next, yeah.
Because, look, this is clearly something that is front and center in the minds of the vast majority of Americans right now. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about pricing and affordability and inflation. We've been talking about this stuff heavy duty nonstop for the last 4 years now, going back to 2022. You could even make the case 5 years, going back to, a decent chunk of 21. And so the question is, what do we do about this? Because the obvious impulse is to be able to say, well, those prices are too high. We need to, bring those prices down. But then you get into, okay, what's the, quote, right price for anything? And should the federal, state, or city government be setting the right price? And the answer is no. That generally doesn't work out very well.
Right.
So, we have a system now that is not working for an increasingly large portion of Americans. What are the issues that have led us to this point, and how do we correct them going forward? And we have to look at this from a few different perspectives. The first is, on a local level, in many different communities, the problem is that for one reason or another, on the housing side, it's become too expensive to build and too arduous a process. So can we make it easier and cheaper to expand housing supply?
Yep.
And people say can you build more low cost to low income housing? Quite honestly, if you build more housing, eventually more and more of the housing that's out there will become lower cost, even if it starts out at higher cost, because supply and demand. It's just how it works. Think about apartments that were built 20 years ago that were being pitched as luxury apartments. They're the ones that are now no longer receiving that premium pricing because they're 20 years old. it's just kind of how it works. You build more and pricing comes down as a result of further new building. So I think that's one place that I get to on that side of things. Other things that I think, quite honestly, have contributed, but for which I have no answer, it's the increasing MBAization of the world, where every asset needs to have some kind of return on it rather than just, oh, this does the job it's intended to. The example I'm going to cite is kind of a dumb one, but I think it gets at this, in that because every piece of real estate now has to be like run through a cap table, like through a pricing matrix of, okay, like here's the ROI that you can get on this, and here's, the cap rate that you can get from doing this. Like, no one is just okay with there being a piece of real estate in a city that underperforms. Everyone's always trying to find like the next deal so that they can make it. And the answer that I give on like the example, it's kind of dumb, but the area outside TD Garden, just as an example, where the Bruins and Celtics play, used to be a dump. Like, it used to be just dive bar after dive bar after dive bar. And you go through it now, and they're basically all gone. Like, there's the only one that's left at this point is Sully's Tap.
Yep.
And everything else is just the same, kind of well-polished, white subway tile, industrial interior. Like, you go to any of the bars there, and they're basically all the same now.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much differentiation. And it's because when these buildings change hand now, like, everyone out there is competing for these because, again, there's not enough other construction. There's not enough ways just to, make money. And so it's, oh, well, we've got to get the return on this. And so this is why, the only tenant that can come in here for the bar has to sell $25 nachos because the cost of the real estate is so expensive now.
The same thing on the housing front is
Same
that
thing, exactly.
The builder will not look at building the 2,000 square foot home in a nice community like Needham or one of these other suburban areas. If they're going to go for it, you better believe that they're building the 5,000 square foot home so that they can capture, greater margin on that.
So it's just like, I don't know, on the childcare side, like how many of these like large nationwide childcare companies are run by private equity firms where it's like, sure, they're providing good childcare. I'm not denying that. But the pricing's also because the PE firm needs to hit its hurdle rate in order to get to where investors are happy with it. And like that kind of feels like crap. But I don't have an answer for what we do about it. Like I don't know how we get out of this. And I don't know. It's just everything has to be so measured and so like down to this and that and optimized. It's like this is how you get people trying to like measure the quality of their sleep through a watch when I can just wake up and be like, I didn't sleep well.
I know that.
I don't need my watch to be like, Chuck, you slept like crap last night. Gee, thanks. Feel like crap today.
I don't know enough about the universal pre-K stuff that New York City has done, and it comes with a tax, so that's not super. I wouldn't really love that either. But on the childcare front, there's not an easy fix. There's no way to optimize or enhance productivity when it comes to childcare. Technology can step in on a lot of different areas, but one thing that all three of us know, having young kids, that there's no fix for that yet. There's no robot out there that can take care of the kids, so it's hard to move the needle there.
Also, if you want an unpopular opinion on what would help improve housing affordability for young people, the counterintuitive answer, and I'm not saying that like this is what you want to do or what you don't, but the counterintuitive answer, raise property taxes. Young people have a surplus of income but a lack of assets. The high price of real estate means that the biggest impediment to them buying it is typically the lack of a down payment. If you raise property taxes, there are fewer people that can afford to pay the current prices at a higher property tax level, meaning prices have to come down on housing, which makes it more affordable for young people who have that surplus income, but not the surplus assets for the down payment. The total monthly payment remains the same. It's just you're giving more to the city rather than to the mortgage servicer.
Yeeks.
I'm just like, I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't do this, but like this is another way that you can think about this stuff. Quick break here. When we return, let's see. We did enough on housing here. No, we can talk. I got a couple other things to say on housing, and then Let's see. Do I want to talk Zuck? No. Oh, let's talk more about this Disney YouTube TV thing because it's really grinding my gears right now. We'll do that when we come back.
Breaking business news as it happens, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. His dedication to serving our veterans has made an incredible impact on his family and employees. And he is so proud to be the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston.
My name is Ashley Vonner, Director of Operations at Veterans Development Corporation. I wanted to learn the family business under the guidance of my father, Mark Vonner. VDC is more than a general contractor. It's a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that goes above and beyond for the veteran community. With Mark's military background, serving in the Marine Corps, our company is committed to supporting the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. VDC has been the presenting sponsor for the DAV 5K for many years, striving to spread awareness of this great organization. Working for Veterans Development Corporation has shaped me into the person I am today, and I am proud to be a part of this organization.
Please visit dav5k.boston to show your support today.
The U.S. Virgin Islands isn't just a postcard. It's alive with rhythm, culture, and celebration. This December through early January, St. Croix lights up with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a heritage carnival tradition dating back to the 1800s. There are incredible parades through Frederiksted as the festival village buzzes with live music, reggae, soca, and local island beats, as well as streets filled with the scent of authentic Caribbean flavors. Beyond the festival, there's St. Thomas, fresh with cruise hub energy, duty-free shopping, and panoramic views at Maggins Bay. St. John is quiet, wild, and pure, where every trail and beach is its own adventure. Explore one island or all three. Each offers something unique, all with warm hospitality and that easy island vibe. Travel from New England could not be easier. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. This holiday season, plan your escape and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit usvi.com and book your trip today. That's visit usvi.com. Estate planning isn't just about taxes. It's about peace of mind. At Cushing & Dolan, we believe your plan should protect your family, not complicate your life. A joint revocable trust can help you do both. It lets you avoid probate, which means no court delays, no public filings, and no stress for your loved ones. Your estate stays private, and your family stays in control. Our new guide, The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts, also explains how a trust can protect your children's inheritance from creditors, divorce, or bad financial decisions down the road. This guide makes it easy to understand why a joint trust may be the smart move for your family's future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy of The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from our website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Like our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hey, if you missed any of our shows this week, you can find them on our YouTube page. We stream the show live every day, but also archive every hour and all of our most newsworthy interviews. Go to YouTube, search for the Financial Exchange, and hit that subscribe button.
So, talking just a little bit more about housing, quick item. We've got some additional concerning signs that home builders are pulling back from new construction, which unfortunately means that you'll have less new inventory hitting markets in order to potentially move prices down. But again, the problem that we come back to on housing is everyone is so protective of their home values that generally in most communities, one of the main reasons why you don't have more construction is people vote against it because they're concerned about their property value, and it ends up getting us into a place where like you just don't have healthy and efficient property markets anymore.
Well,
I understand it from a rational perspective.
Not only property value, I think it's just the not in my backyard, just not being overly congested. It seems like is always a pushback from those who are residents, which I guess can go hand in hand with the property value declining. But it is something that we've talked about a lot on this show over the years. But ultimately, there's no easy fix to solving that inventory.
There is, just build more. We just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like that is the fix. It's just we don't want to do it. Nope, we're not going to do that? No. Okay, that's fine. Disney and YouTube. Let's talk about this. I will say I did claim my $20 YouTube credit that they made me go to a website to claim, so I did that. Apparently, also, by the way, if you happen to be a YouTube TV subscriber, one other tip that a friend of mine gave me is if you have to go to tv.youtube.com. You got to do this on the website. You can't do it just like on your phone or whatever. But go to the settings menu and then the membership page. And then near the top, it says what your plan is. And then you can click manage. If you go there, quite a few people that I know have been getting a $10 off subscription for the next 6 months in order to bring your costs down. Because apparently if you go there to that page where you can manage your subscription, it's basically a retention offer because a lot of people are trying to cancel, and so they'll give you $10 off in addition to the $20 that you get this month, but that $10 is for the next 6 months. So the question is, how much are all of these companies losing on this? And I guess in looking at this, so YouTube TV is assumed to have somewhere around 10 million subscribers is the thinking. And Disney probably receives somewhere in the ballpark of, between all the different networks, because again, it's a per channel fee, probably somewhere in the ballpark of $12 to $18 per subscriber, at this point. And so you do the math and you're like, okay, that's probably like $120 to $180 million a month in, revenue for Disney that they lose direct from YouTube. But also remember that the ad sales there, I don't know exactly how it gets broken down between YouTube and Disney. There's lost revenue on that side as well. But everyone is, kind of coming out of this losing something at least, because YouTube is losing some subscribers as a result of this too.
Yes, and for YouTube, luckily their parent company, Google, you might have heard of them before.
This is a rounding error for them.
It's worth $3 trillion. So when it comes to muscling around, you better believe that Google cares a little bit less about this than Disney does.
Does Google have a mascot?
No.
Disney's got the mouse. Google doesn't have one, do they?
No, just
we should come up with a mascot for every tech company. Let's do that at some point. Quick break, hour 2 coming up in a bit.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much, and they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine, no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Estate planning doesn't have to be complicated. Cushing & Dolan's new guide, The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts, shows couples how to stay in control, avoid probate, and help protect what they've built for their family. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from our website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. His dedication to serving our veterans has made an incredible impact on his family and employees. And he is so proud to be the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston.
This is Brittany Vonner. I'm a registered nurse who is now working as an assistant project manager at Veterans Development Corporation. Working with my father, Mark, has been an incredibly rewarding experience. Our company is dedicated to serving VA hospitals and veteran communities. We don't just build facilities, we build environments that support healing, resilience, and family. We are so proud to see our work directly impact the lives of veterans and the professionals who care for them. This rich history is why we care so much about supporting great organizations such as the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts in the work they do to care for our veterans.
Join Veterans Development Corporation in thanking our great American heroes. Please visit dav5k.boston to show your support today.
The U.S. Virgin Islands isn't just a postcard. It's alive with rhythm, culture, and celebration. This December through early January, St. Croix lights up with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a heritage carnival tradition dating back to the 1800s. There are incredible parades through Frederiksted as the festival village buzzes with live music, reggae, soca, and local island beats, as well as streets filled with the scent of authentic Caribbean flavors. Beyond the festival, there's St. Thomas, fresh with cruise hub energy, duty-free shopping, and panoramic views at Maggins Bay. St. John is quiet, wild, and pure, where every trail and beach is its own adventure. Explore one island or all three. Each offers something unique, all with warm hospitality and that easy island vibe. Travel from New England could not be easier. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. This holiday season, plan your escape and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit usvi.com and book your trip today. That's visit usvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and our guide this month is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement. Mike, for someone who wants to own multiple properties in retirement, maybe a warm weather and a summer property, what do you end up doing as far as, trying to negotiate and navigate that decision?
Well, it's a lot of questions to answer. How much time are we going to spend in one place versus another? Where am I going to be a resident? If I am, leaving between two different homes, where do I feel comfortable being a resident? I get this question all the time. How much will I get in tax savings, for instance, by moving to a no income tax state? And what ends up happening, though, sometimes is they make that decision based on income tax and don't realize where a lot of the cost savings comes, which is estate taxes. And so if I'm going to own multiple properties, where do I intend on actually making my residency? And will I be able to commit to that for the long term is an important one.
Another piece there, look, at a certain point in everyone's life, that travel and moving between two places and even maintaining two places becomes challenging. When do you typically see those kinds of conversations being navigated?
For most folks, I see it in the 70s and early 80s. That's when this stuff starts to change for a lot of people, but ultimately it's customized to each individual, and you might be able to afford one scenario if you're willing to rent out your property for a period of time.
Sure.
It really comes down to customizing for your situation.
Our guide this month is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement, and you can request it by calling 800-393-4001 or going to armstrongadvisory.com. That guide again is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement, and you can request it by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
It is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. We've also got Tucker running the board for us. And it's a lovely Wednesday here as we broadcast the show. Markets are mixed, however, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 365 points. Bet you didn't think I was going to say that one. The S&P 500, though, down 4.5 points, and the NASDAQ struggling the most, down about 0.5%, 126 points and change. So mixed markets with tech lagging. It's been just kind of a choppy market the last few weeks with nothing really able to gain any foothold. We hit those all-time highs on the S&P 500 back on, I want to say it was, the 28th of October is when we got there for the all-time high close. And we've just kind of been chopping around for the last 2 weeks now, haven't really gone down too far, haven't really come back up to those all-time highs. It's just kind of chopping around, and I guess that's what we're doing right now. So no conclusive movement in markets, but some choppiness out there. What else is moving? Bond market back open today after having yesterday off in observance of Veterans Day. The bond market is open today, and the U.S. 10-year Treasury is down 4.1 basis points to 4.069%. Dollar index, though, moving up a touch, up 0.02% to 99.34. We've got gold up $72.40 an ounce to 41.87 and we've got crude oil down $2.12 now to 58.92. So continuing to spend some time in the high 50s. Despite that, gas prices up another 0.3 cents overnight to 307 5/10. So no major movement there. Still hanging out in the low threes, but can't quite get that national average below $3 a gallon right now. Piece in Bloomberg. This is why you should treat the stock rally with skepticism. Paul, why should you treat the stock rally with skepticism?
Well, Chuck, in this piece here, it outlines a case on a technical study. I don't really typically put too much credence into technicals. I know that.
So you're saying that the article is a load of crap?
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh,
I would
you're not
say
saying that.
On the perhaps the methodology behind it or the reason that they're citing. I'm not sure if I
Quote
would
me on that.
I would quote me if you. I don't know if I'd quote me on that. Being this negative divergence, which is a technical study that they mentioned that the number of the stocks in the S&P 500 making a one-year low has been rising even as the market is rallying, that this could create this potential fall off, having those two kind of contrary indicators. The bottom line is it's the crux of this piece is the same thing that we've talked about before. Valuations are really high. However you want to look at it, price to earnings, price to sales, price to book, any ratio you throw out there, stocks are overpriced on a valuation perspective. And so it is fair to mention that we're trading at a premium, but I'm not so sure if I'm going to buy what they're selling here, Chuck, on the technical analysis as to the reason why the market will, fall off anytime soon.
And, along that line of thinking, Paul, back in 2023, after the decline of 2022, were valuations still high?
Yes.
They were. And in 2024, after the growth of 2023, were valuations still high?
Yes, they were.
And at the beginning of this year, after the growth of 2024, were valuations still high?
All 3 years.
And they've continued to go up. So, again, stocks are not physics. They're not bound by the laws of physics. They're not bound by any rules at all other than what you need to do in order to be a publicly traded company and, the regulations that you need to follow so that you don't, defraud investors and do all of that bad stuff. But in general, stocks can do whatever they want. This is how you get wacky quantum computing companies that have no revenue going parabolic. It's how you get wacky nuclear power companies that have never made a single reactor going parabolic worth tens of billions of dollars. I'm not saying any of this is bad, but I have parts of markets where I kind of get old fogey, and I certainly can be like, hey, this looks a little bubbly. I'm a little skeptical on this particular thing. You heard it from me back about, all of the EV SPACs in 2021 and 22. Even now I look at, some of the stuff that's going on in parts of the market, and I'm like, okay, this is just a little bit, too out there. But ultimately, you can do any of this stuff so long as it's legal. And the idea that valuation is this North Star that everything comes back to, quite honestly, that's a really short story in the time of in the broad history of markets. Valuations only become an important driving story in the last 70, 80 years. Before that, it wasn't a thing. That's just not how people thought about this stuff. It's just not how it was done. So ultimately, asset prices of all kinds, whether it's stocks, real estate, collectibles, Beanie Babies, Labubu's. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Are you a big Labubu fan?
Mike had to tell me what it was. My kids aren't at that age range yet.
Yeah.
I now am aware of what it is, but
Tucker, you into the Labubus?
No, I don't even know what the hell it is.
You don't know what a Labubu is?
It's like the new Beanie Baby thing.
Yeah, they're the little guys. They look like
nowadays.
Cool.
They look like gremlins.
It will not enter my house.
Well, we'll see about that.
No, it won't.
I'm getting you a
Merry
Labubu for Christmas.
Merry
Hunted right into the woods.
Merry
I'm
Christmas,
getting you a
boys.
Labubu for Christmas.
Yeah, well, it's going right in
Your kids are going to be
highway.
It's going to be a Labubu from La Choo Choo. And you're going to love it. You're going to love your Labubu. Anyways, asset pricing of all kinds. It's determined by stories. Like the guy who wants to buy a property on the coast of Florida and says, I'm willing to pay $2 million for that, when if you go a mile inland, you can pay a third of that. It's because the story he tells himself is, wow, I can't wait to look at that sunset out there. And also, hey, someone else is going to want to pay for that after I'm gone, and so this is a good investment. The person who buys the rundown, dilapidated home in Detroit a decade ago for $8,000, who says, hey, Detroit's not always going to be like this. He's telling himself a story about what that can be. The person that buys the Rolex, partly because they're like, hey, this looks cool and I can, tell people how cool I am. They're doing that because they're telling themselves a story too. And so just because assets are overpriced doesn't mean that they fall immediately, is where I'm going with all the Labubu talk. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, La Choo Choo is going to be joined by La Lulu. Luke Kawa from Sherwood News joins us right after this. Not talking Labubus, we're talking AI and other things with Luke.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Subscribe to our page and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Your home is about more than where you live. It's a big part of your financial life, and as you head into retirement, certain questions may come up. Does the space feel too large or too expensive to maintain? Does it still fit your needs, but the taxes, insurance, and upkeep are starting to add up? Our new guide, Owning Real Estate in Retirement, offers insight into how to decide what's right for you. Should you stay put, downsize, or relocate to an area with lower costs? We cover those issues, as well as how factors like property taxes, insurance premiums, and local living expenses can impact your retirement budget, and why it's important to match your housing decisions to your long-term financial plan. Call us right now at 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Estate planning isn't just about taxes. It's about peace of mind. At Cushing & Dolan, we believe your plan should protect your family, not complicate your life. A joint revocable trust can help you do both. It lets you avoid probate, which means no court delays, no public filings, and no stress for your loved ones. Your estate stays private, and your family stays in control. Our new guide, The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts, also explains how a trust can protect your children's inheritance from creditors, divorce, or bad financial decisions down the road. This guide makes it easy to understand why a joint trust may be the smart move for your family's future. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy of The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online from our website, LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Mark Vonner is the CEO of Veterans Development Corporation. His dedication to serving our veterans has made an incredible impact on his family and employees. And he is so proud to be the presenting sponsor of the DAV 5K Boston.
My name is Ashley Vonner, Director of Operations at Veterans Development Corporation. I wanted to learn the family business under the guidance of my father, Mark Vonner. VDC is more than a general contractor. It's a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that goes above and beyond for the veteran community. With Mark's military background, serving in the Marine Corps, our company is committed to supporting the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. VDC has been the presenting sponsor for the DAV 5K for many years, striving to spread awareness of this great organization. Working for Veterans Development Corporation has shaped me into the person I am today, and I am proud to be a part of this organization.
Please visit DAV5K.Boston to show your support today.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
The Financial Exchange is now available every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Stay informed about the latest from Wall Street, fiscal policy, and breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. This year's race was a tremendous success, and if you weren't able to attend but would still like to help our great American heroes, please visit dav5k.boston and make a donation. Your participation helps provide vital services like free transportation to medical appointments and safe housing for single veterans and their families. Donate today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
As promised, we're now joined by Luke Kawa from Sherwood News. Luke, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Congrats on the 5-3 beatdown yesterday of my Leafs. I'm recovering from that, hopefully better than Austin Matthews.
I was told we're going to answer the age-old question, is Fraser Minton the next Patrice Bergeron during this show? Your thoughts?
We're just hoping this trade doesn't go down as bad as the Tuukka Rask one, but hey, he looks great. Cheering for him, but cheering for him less than I would be if he were wearing different colors. I'll put it that way.
I appreciate that, Luke. Let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence here. Last couple weeks, it seems like the idea of valuations on AI companies has at least entered the chat. And this is something that just hasn't really been present for the last couple of years. It's just been, hey, every time you increase CapEx, your stock has gone up. And so, why wouldn't you keep pushing that button? I understand all of the financial incentives driving this. But the last couple of weeks, it seems like there's been a different tenor to the conversations. And I'm wondering if you can give a little bit of color to that and some ideas to whether or not this does matter, will matter, or will continue to not matter.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me. I think it mainly came about somewhat last week. I would say early last week when there was a investment conference in Hong Kong and a couple of big Wall Street head honchos, including at Goldman Sachs, basically give a generic loud warning about high valuations, the risk of a market kind of pull back in the 10 to 15% range at some vague, indiscriminate point in the future. As sort of a catalyst for that, along that you also have Michael Burry raising some alarms about the space, which does tend to generate a lot of news flow. But when I think of the AI boom and assessing whether it's a bubble or not, I have to go to, okay, let's look at S&P 500 major company valuations. Right now, companies with a higher forward price-to-earnings ratio than NVIDIA include Costco, Walmart, and Starbucks. I think inasmuch as there is a valuation, or inasmuch as there are bubble concerns within AI, it should lay much more on the idea of an earnings bubble. The idea that, hey, the very outsized returns that are going to be generated in a boom obviously aren't going to last forever, this degree of growth. And what does growth look like on the other side of that? That, to me, is where the biggest idea of an AI bubble looks. It doesn't look as much in the valuations. In other words, I'm saying if we're going to be worried about an AI bubble, even more, it's probably going to have to come with a lot more work on the valuation side, and those alarm bells getting a lot louder and a lot more blaring. Bank of America, for instance, yesterday basically said they had their global option strategists come out and say that, single stock volatility is rising, but not really as high as the dot-com bubble, and we think we're going there, therefore valuations and volatility should be rising. So that's actually a part of the leg that I would presume, as long as the earnings side cooperates, gets worse rather than gets better in terms of the kind of cries and concerns it's eliciting.
So is that kind of my view where I've kind of evolved to is like most technology, I believe that we're going to use way more AI over the next 5 to 10 years than we're using today. But it's also, like most technology, going to become commoditized, because that's kind of what generally happens with most technologies. See the personal computer, smartphones aside from Apple, like the margins shrink into, oblivion, and you say, okay, we have to have a bunch of M&A in order to, save whatever's out there. But is this, kind of where we end up going, which is, yeah, we can use a lot more AI in the future, but in doing so, does it become commoditized and the margins get hit on that?
Oh man, you're speaking my language completely here. Yeah, the time where you have the most pricing power and in theory have the best margins is during the boom. It's now. So when you look at for instance, the CoreWeaves and the Nebuuses of the world, which are saying, hey, like we're even right now able to lease old versions of chips, like the H100s, for instance, NVIDIA's chips, at rates that aren't too far off what we booked the initial contracts at. You say, hey, that sounds great, right? This sounds like longer useful life, some decent pricing power. And then you kind of have to remember that this is probably as good as it ever gets in terms of the demand outstripping supply, providing for that pricing power. So yeah, I am totally on board with that idea, and that kind of loops in what Jensen Huang talked about recently, and I think was really a point of emphasis for him at GTC speaking in DC. He was talking a lot about the efficiency improvements that are going to be a part of every generation of NVIDIA chips going forward. And so effectively what he's saying is like, hey, this isn't just about giving better AI compute. We're also trying to drive costs lower and try and provide that ongoing protection over time. Whether or not that's enough to offset kind of the more generalized loss of pricing power that you would expect to see as supply continue to get built out, and we get a better handle in terms of right sizing that to demand. I think that's, a very open question, but in terms of your view is basically saying, is CoreWeave more like a high growing software firm, or is it more like, say, a classic US utility company? Probably over time it starts to look and act a lot more like the latter than like the former, and it's definitely more lumped in, I would say, with the former in terms of how it's priced.
So when we talk about kind of bucketing winners and losers, the question that I have outstanding, and I haven't looked at this, so I'm gonna ask you to look at this, Luke, and maybe you have already. Right now, you've got the providers of picks and shovels that are being projected as winners. The suppliers of the actual AI are being projected as winners, and the users of AI are being projected as winners. Basically, if you make the chips, if you make the models, or if you use the models, your stock has generally gone up shortly after announcements relating to those things. When this shakeout eventually occurs, which could be whenever, I have no clue, who typically ends up coming out in the best shape from those three groups? Because right now they're all projected to win.
I would say if we look at it from a kind of holistic historical perspective, I would say the end users or the most downstream that can apply the technology consistently after the boom are generally the ones that you would expect to be kind of having more benefits accrue to them over time, whereas just the one-off boost or the kind of more temporarily limited boost comes from the picks and shovels space. I would say, though, that speaking kind of more recently to recent price action, there has been, I would say, a degree of more nuance in the space. I think the best example is Meta. Meta is the kind of biggest of the publicly traded hyperscalers, the biggest one that doesn't really have a cloud business. So it's gotten to the point of Meta is in a place where it's much more downstream, I would say, in the AI game than others. And because of that, I would say it's kind of prove it on the spend. The expiry on that option is a lot closer than it is for, a Google or an Amazon, so to speak. It's because they have to effectively show that, we have ways of making money off this quickly and directly, whereas, Amazon, the Googles, they can say, well, we just need somebody else to look at this and say we might be able to make money off of this. So I would say that's been one kind of interesting part of nuance in the AI space lately, is that I'd point to kind of Meta as a kind of chief cause of worries downstream. And hey, if you're worried about downstream, eventually you probably get worried about upstream. Not saying that time is now, especially with Nvidia and Jensen pointing to 500 billion in sales in the pipeline for flagship chips.
Luke, we got to run.
But a good one to watch.
We got to run, Luke. Appreciate the time. We'll catch up with you soon. Luke Cowa from Sherwood News.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Your home is more than just a place to live. It's part of your story. In retirement, real estate can play a powerful role in how you manage your wealth and plan for the next generation. Passing property to family members isn't always easy. One child might want to keep the home while another prefers to sell it. Maintenance costs, taxes, and distance to healthcare services are all important factors that need to be considered, which is why having a clear plan can help prevent family stress while keeping your wishes front and center. Our new guide, Owning Real Estate in Retirement, is designed to help you fit your property into a long-term strategy that supports your life today and preserves what matters most for your future. Get your free copy right now by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
The U.S. Virgin Islands isn't just a postcard. It's alive with rhythm, culture, and celebration. This December through early January, St. Croix lights up with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a heritage carnival tradition dating back to the 1800s. There are incredible parades through Frederiksted as the festival village buzzes with live music, reggae, soca, and local island beats, as well as streets filled with the scent of authentic Caribbean flavors. Beyond the festival, there's St. Thomas, fresh with cruise hub energy, duty-free shopping, and panoramic views at Maggins Bay. St. John is quiet, wild, and pure, where every trail and beach is its own adventure. Explore one island or all 3. Each offers something unique, all with warm hospitality and that easy island vibe. Travel from New England could not be easier. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. This holiday season, plan your escape and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit usvi.com and book your trip today. That's visit usvi.com.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about joint revocable trusts. Todd, for couples who already have wills in place, why Why might it make sense to look at a joint revocable trust, and what can it do that a simple will can't?
Yeah, this is important because a lot of people believe that wills are an estate plan, when really a will is a won't. I've said it many times. It won't avoid probate. It won't reduce estate taxes. It won't protect assets from the nursing home. You're going to need some kind of trust to do that. So that's the most important reason why a will is not enough. Then you need to think about, well, what kind of trust are you doing? Well, in this case, we're talking about joint trusts. And boy, folks, these are so underutilized, but they are really powerful for moderate estates. And today, moderate estates are, below 15 million with the exemption as high as it is. So you can actually make it easier for folks. Put all the assets into this trust. You can jointly put your brokerage accounts and real estate in the trust. It's simple. You don't have to split assets between two trusts. Ease of operation, and it's going to reduce estate taxes, avoid probate, and provide a bloodline plan for your family, even to the extent where if you want to protect it from future creditors and divorces of the kids, you can do that in the trust as well. And the will won't do any of that.
Cushing and Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years now. Learn how you can avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes, protect your kids' inheritance, and keep your money in your family. Request this brand new guide from Cushing and Dolan called The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are mixed, with the Dow well into positive territory as Wall Street readies for a vote and the likely end to the government shutdown later this evening. Right now, the Dow is up by about 0.75% or 346 points higher. S&P 500 completely flat. NASDAQ down by 0.4% or 95 points lower. Russell 2000 is down about 0.1%. 10-year Treasury yield down 4 basis points at 4.065%. And crude oil down over 3.5% lower, trading at $58.82 a barrel. AMD's jumping 9%. After CEO Lisa Su said during its investor day that the company anticipates the total market for AI data center parts and systems will reach $1 trillion by 2030. Su also said that AMD should see revenue growth accelerate in the coming years due to strong data center demand. Meanwhile, shares in Swiss sneaker maker On Holding surging 20% after the company raised its guidance for the third time in a row after it beat street expectations on the top and bottom lines. Elsewhere, nuclear energy startup Oklo saw its loss widen last quarter as the company spent more on research and development to advance its plans to launch a commercial plant. Shares are up 5%, and after today's close, we'll see earnings from Cisco Systems and gambling operator Flutter Entertainment. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch, and we haven't done trivia yet, so let's get to it. Today is Ryan Gosling's 45th birthday. Gosling got his start in acting when he was cast on The Mickey Mouse Club alongside future stars Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Kerry Russell, among others. So our trivia question today: which boy band legend was Ryan Gosling's castmate on The Mickey Mouse Club? Once again, which boy band legend was Ryan Gosling's castmate on The Mickey Mouse Club? Be the seventh person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the seventh correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Let's talk a little bit about subprime auto delinquencies. Paul, what are we seeing on that side of things?
We've seen a pretty significant uptick here. Obviously, subprime auto got into the major focus of the investment world back when First Brands and some of these other companies defaulted or filed for bankruptcy here. And so what we've seen is the share of subprime borrowers who are at least 60 days past due on their auto loans has risen to 6.65% in October. There are various factors for this. One, they cite the return of student loan bills causing some car owners to have difficulty getting to their monthly payment number. The other is just we've seen average prices for a new car recently top $50,000 for the first time, and you have some other trade-ins out there that were bought back in 21, 22 that are being turned in with negative equity. So there's just a bunch of different factors out here that's leading to it. The prices are very expensive, and you've got just an area of the market that is under relative stress at this point.
And yet it still doesn't mean anything for the broader economy.
No, it doesn't. It's such a small subset of the lending that you'd see on the mortgage market. And the companies that we talk about every single day, even if you want to drill down just to the financials, the Goldman Sachs, the JP Morgans, the Bank of America, very little, if any, exposure to this sector. You get down to some of the regional banks, you see some impact, but not in terms of the typical S&P 500 companies that we're used to speaking about so frequently.
Yeah, it's just kind of, I mean, look, this is a story we've been talking about, not this one specifically, but how many different parts of the economy are like, this doesn't seem great, but like none of it matters.
Yeah.
The overall economic data continues to chug along, even though you can point to some of these different areas and be like, that's a little concerning. It hasn't mattered to the broader economy, and it kind of has you wonder, like, okay, like what would it take for something to matter, because it's just not showing up in the broader data right now, even though there are pockets under the surface that are not great. Folks, the Armstrong Advisory Group has a new guide out this month. It is all about owning real estate in retirement. In fact, it's titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement. What kinds of questions does this guide answer? Hey, if you've got a mortgage outstanding, what are some considerations for whether you should or shouldn't pay that off prior to retiring? Do you want to continue to be a homeowner in retirement, or do you want to consider renting? Maybe that could be a more advantageous position for you. If you have a second home, how do you decide if you want to keep it or not, or downsize to a single property? And what about owning rental property in retirement? What are some of the different ways you can think about that? All these questions and more are answered in the guide titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement. How do you request it? Two different ways. Number one, you can go to armstrongadvisory.com and request it there. Number two, you can call 800-393-4001. Again, the guide is titled Owning Real Estate in Retirement, and the way to request it is by going to armstrongadvisory.com or by calling 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
The House of Representatives is going to be voting at 7 p.m. tonight, or approximately 7 p.m., to reopen the government. My assumption is that vote will not fail, but you never know. Airlines indicating that, hey, even if the shutdown ends today, it still is going to take them a little bit of time to get things spooled back up, just because when you've been changing flight schedules for the last week or so to reduce the number of flights, you don't just push a button and have every crew exactly where they need to be in order to get back up to full speed. So they're indicating it might be 7 to 10 days to get there, which means next week might still be a little bit bumpy, but you should be back towards full speed by the week of Thanksgiving for the heaviest of the holiday travel.
Really important, obviously, for the Thanksgiving holiday travel. I read somewhere that in the 10-day period in and around Thanksgiving, that 31 million Americans are set to get out there and travel, so really important that gets resolved. We saw the disruption peak in terms of flight cancellations this past Sunday when about 1 in 10 scheduled flights did not take off. That made it the fourth worst day of the year for flight cancellations, according to the New York Times here. So hopefully that gets resolved when everyone is heading to home or wherever they're going for the Thanksgiving season here.
Other things, we still have this problem where we just don't have enough air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
The estimate is that we're about 3,000 short. There are 14,000 employed nationwide, so we're about 20% short of where we'd like to be. Here's the deal. In terms of what it takes to be an air traffic controller, just in terms of like basic requirements, Number one, you got to be a U.S. citizen. Number two, you have to be younger than 31 years old.
Really?
FAA doesn't want to train you as a 40-year-old just to have you retire in 20 years.
Interesting.
You got to be younger than 31. Obviously, you have to be fluent in English when talking about communication skills and things like that. You need to have either a bachelor's degree or 3 years of progressively more responsible work experience, or a combination thereof that equates to it. And basically, like, those are the basic things that you need. Then you have to go through the FAA Air Traffic Skills Assessment Program, pass a background check and medical exam, pass a psych eval as well, and then go into the FAA Academy, which means you're going to spend about 3 months living in Oklahoma City. And then you get to go and do a bunch of on-the-job training under supervision for, usually it's like 2 to 4 years. Think of it as basically the equivalent of residency for becoming a doctor. Like, you want to be, working under a senior air traffic controller for those 2 to 4 years, and then you get to actually be an air traffic controller. So it's a pretty arduous process, and this is before you even get into the long hours, the high stress, and all that, which is why, despite having 330 million people in the United States, we can't find another 3,000 who want to be air traffic controllers at the moment.
Yeah, looking up the compensation here, it looks like the starting
compensation's good, but not
once
like
you get,
amazing.
but it's like once you get there, and you just alluded to how long it takes to get there. That in training you're making 41 to 50K. After certification, you get between 70 and 90. Once you get experience, you're making more than 150K annually. But to your point, what was that? 3-4 years, 5 years before you're kind of up and running.
Long process to get there. Quite honestly, you got to pay them more.
Right.
You got to pay them more. Think about the jobs that you are competing against for these people. Honestly, you got to bump those pay ranges up by 25 to 30%.
Yeah, particularly the 70 to 90 after you get the certification. It's just not enough for the stress of the job.
You can make 70 to 90 grand as like an associate manager at a small, like a fast food restaurant.
Right.
And you don't have the stress of being an air traffic controller.
Sure.
Think about what you're comparing this to. If you're working at an Amazon warehouse, just as an example, you're getting out of there with like 40 grand a year if you're doing full time, maybe 50, depending on the market that you're in. Granted, it's like highly physical work and everything, but you sit there and you say, okay, or I can go be an air traffic controller, and for the first year or so, I'm basically going to make the same amount with all this stress, and then I've got this path to making more. But you got paths to making more doing other stuff too. So, look, quite honestly, they're going to have to raise the pay ranges on these jobs in order to fill them. I know that, I know no one wants to be like, oh, like that's the answer, but you got to pay these people more. Otherwise, I don't think people appreciate just how much of what we take for granted today revolves around air traffic controllers being able to operate efficiently and, quite honestly, near perfectly.
They do.
It's an incredibly demanding, high-stress job, and we're doing a disservice to them by not providing enough pay so that they're not overworked and potentially causing problems that are avoidable if you properly staff these places. Quick break. When we come back, it's Stack Roulette.
Hear the Financial Exchange every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Keep it here for the latest business and financial news and the trends on Wall Street. The Financial Exchange is now live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
We're proud to announce that Circle K is now the official convenience store of the DAV Department of Massachusetts. At Circle K, supporting those who bravely served our country isn't just a commitment, it's a heartfelt mission. Circle K is honored to stand with the DAV Department of Massachusetts to ensure that veterans receive the care and recognition they deserve. If you'd like to do your part, please visit davma.org. Thank you for standing with Circle K and the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and thank you, veterans, for all you've done.
Estate planning doesn't have to be complicated. Cushing & Dolan's new guide, The Simplicity of Joint Revocable Trusts, shows couples how to stay in control, avoid probate, and help protect what they've built for their family. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free copy today. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from our website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The U.S. Virgin Islands isn't just a postcard. It's alive with rhythm, culture, and celebration. This December through early January, St. Croix lights up with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a heritage carnival tradition dating back to the 1800s. There are incredible parades through Frederiksted as the festival village buzzes with live music, reggae, soca, and local island beats, as well as streets filled with the scent of authentic Caribbean flavors. Beyond the festival, there's St. Thomas, fresh with cruise hub energy, duty-free shopping, and panoramic views at Maggins Bay. St. John is quiet, wild, and pure, where every trail and beach is its own adventure. Explore one island or all three. Each offers something unique, all with warm hospitality and that easy island vibe. Travel from New England could not be easier. There's no passport needed and no money to exchange. This holiday season, plan your escape and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit usvi.com and book your trip today. That's visit usvi.com.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. Your next incredible vacation is a click away, and if you act fast, you could be in St. Croix to experience their Crucian Christmas Festival taking place this December through early January. Discover the magic of this long-standing tradition with incredible food, music, and entertainment, or just go soak up the sun. Stroll along white sand beaches and feel the rhythm of the heartbeat of the islands. The USVI is America's Caribbean paradise. Plan your escape now and visit usvi.com. That's visit usvi.com. And our trivia question we asked in the prior segment was, which boy band legend was Ryan Gosling's castmate on the Mickey Mouse Club? That would, of course, be Justin Timberlake. Kevin from Standish, Maine is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Kevin. We play trivia every day here in the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Paul, what do you got for Stack Roulette?
Chuck, we talked about this a little bit on yesterday, so some follow-up on the idea that got floated around by President Trump of a 50-year mortgage. A nice piece done here in the Wall Street Journal breaking down just sort of what that would mean from a cost perspective. Again, in yesterday's show, I was mentioning that I just didn't think it was a great idea road to go down. There's just all sorts of complexities that come with it. They do a nice job here of lining out that if you had a $400,000 home with a 20% down payment, let's say 6.2% mortgage rate, over a 50-year mortgage versus the 30-year with the same terms and structure, you would save $200 a month on the principal and interest, with that 50 being stretched out longer versus the 30-year. But you would end up shelling out $335,000 more in cumulative interest over that 50-year period rather than the 30, and you'd walk away if you sold it after 10 years with $38,000 less in equity. That's just some of the issues here, but the other issue is on the lender side of things, puts them in a really tough spot to lend out money to you over a 30-year period. Just more risks that can occur, whether death, divorce, job loss, all sorts of stuff that they're on the hook for if you're no longer able to pay that mortgage. Plus, we don't really have the securities that are tied to back this. So a lot would need to happen to, put this into place, and it doesn't solve the issue of the 20% down. This is just really eroding at some of the monthly payment just by a little bit here.
Everyone talks about all this, and they're trying to analyze it in terms of, okay, if this is the price, blah 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 blah, and everyone's missing the first problem that you run into on the idea of a 50-year mortgage, which the idea is to get the down payment lower.
Sure.
That's the idea is, okay, if you add, more payments, you can get the down payment lower. The estimates are that it might reduce the down payment by 7 to 10%. If everyone now has the ability to buy a property with 7 to 10% more purchasing power, the value of those properties will move up in accordance, because the way most people buy homes is not this. They don't do this. Well, the most that we should spend on our house is, 36% of our debt to income, so we're going to spend 20. No, the way it generally works is, hey, I want to buy this house. How much does it cost? Bank, can we afford this? Yes, but it's at the top end of what you can afford. Okay, great, we'll do it. Most people are maxing out what they can spend on mortgages.
No, with a good financial advisor.
It's true, but this is what you generally see. If the problem is, hey, we can't afford to buy more house, and now you give everyone the ability to buy more house, okay, that $400,000 home might now go for $425,000, and your mortgage payment is the same. It's not more affordable.
Right.
This is shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Not really the Titanic, because I don't think housing's in this
not gonna sink.
cataclysmic, thing. I think housing prices are just not really going to go anywhere for 3 to 5 years. It's just we got to burn off this excess inventory and higher pricing. But the way that you fix this is not being hey, just take out a 50-year mortgage, because if it's the same thing as, hey, let's give down payment assistance to first-time home buyers. Well, if you give everyone $25,000,
you're just going to need to do it
you know
again.
what smart sellers do? They say, hey, we're going to raise the price by $25,000 because you just gave everyone more money.
Not to mention you'd have to do it again in another cycle for the next person.
So, great, 10 years from now, we can do 70-year mortgages. You won't ever be able to pay it off because you'll be dead.
My son will be good to go in 5 years.
But
start him at 10.
Right, if you start your kids on their 70-year mortgage for their buy your kids a house for their 5th birthday, and it'll be paid off, when they're, finally getting ready to move out of it. I mean, it's just you have to think of this in terms of just, human life cycles and stuff as well. Mark Zuckerberg, there's an article about him. What's it mean? It says he's picking...
It's supposed to be your pick for Stack Roulette. I just did mine.
I didn't read this one. It says he's picking groupthink over a Godfather.
He's more focused on products rather than research on the artificial intelligence fronts. He let go of one of the leading scientists in the space.
He let go of the Godfather?
One of the Godfathers.
Listen, Paul.
Jeff Hinton and Jan LeCun.
You never go against the family.
Oh!
That's what I'm talking about. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.